quiet evening with a good book, the gentle hum of the radio in the background, or simply sitting in a sunlit garden, watching the leaves sway in the wind. These moments of solitude hold a special kind of peace. As we age, these moments become more appealing, even necessary. You might have noticed yourself yearning for them more often, yet the world around us often questions this preference, as if it were something to be fixed. Why are they always alone, they asked, with furrowed brows and sympathetic tones. But the truth is, there's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to be alone. In fact, it can be one of the most enriching aspects of growing older. When we reach a certain age, life shifts in ways that only those who've walked the same path can truly understand. Our priorities change. What once thrilled us, the rush of a crowded room, the clamor of a lively gathering, might now feel exhausting. It's not that we've stopped caring about people. Far from it. Instead, we begin to cherish something deeper, a sense of peace, a kind of stillness that allows us to connect with ourselves in ways we couldn't when we were younger. This isn't a withdrawal from life. It's a new way of engaging with it on our own terms. Think about it. In the earlier chapters of life, we're often swept up in a whirlwind of responsibilities, relationships, and ambitions. There's little room to pause, to truly breathe. We're busy raising children, building careers, nurturing friendships, and navigating the chaos that comes with it all. Those years can feel like running a marathon, with barely a moment to stop and reflect. But when the marathon ends and the noise begins to fade, something beautiful happens. We discover the luxury of time. And with time comes a space to think, to dream, to simply be. Of course, solitude doesn't always come easily. For some, it's an acquired taste, one that grows sweeter with practice. At first, being alone might feel like loneliness, a heavy, unwelcome weight. But there's a subtle difference between the two. Loneliness is the absence of connection, while solitude is the presence of self. The latter isn't about shutting the world out. It's about inviting yourself in. It's about finding comfort in your own company, in the rhythm of your thoughts and the quiet of your heart. Why, then, do so many older people seek this solitude? Perhaps it's because we've lived long enough to understand the value of it. The longer we live, the more we see the fragility of time. We've spent decades giving to others, our families, our communities, our work, and now it feels right to give back to ourselves. It's not selfish. It's self-preservation. It's the realization that our own company can be as nourishing as any relationship, if not more so. There's also the matter of clarity. With age comes a sharper sense of what truly matters. The distractions that once seemed so important, the endless meetings, the petty dramas, the constant striving, lose their hold on us. What's left is a craving for authenticity, for experiences and interactions that feel real and meaningful. And sometimes, the most authentic moments are the quiet ones, spent alone with our thoughts, free from the expectations of others. Yet, this pull towards solitude isn't just about reflection or rest. It's also about rediscovery. In the quiet, we have the chance to reconnect with parts of ourselves we may have forgotten. Perhaps it's an old hobby we'd set aside, painting, gardening, writing, or a dream we never had time to pursue. Solitude gives us permission to explore these passions, to indulge in the simple joys that make life rich and full. It's a chance to reclaim the pieces of ourselves that were set aside in the busyness of life. And then there's the beauty of simply slowing down. The pace of life often feels relentless, especially in today's fast-moving world. But as we age, we realize that life doesn't have to be a race. We begin to savor the small moments, the warmth of a cup of tea, the sound of birdsong, the feel of the sun on our skin. These moments, so easily overlooked in the rush of youth, become treasures. And solitude gives us the space to truly appreciate them. Of course, Not everyone understands this. Friends, family, and even strangers might see our desire for alone time and mistake it for sadness or isolation. They might try to pull us out of it, urging us to be more social, more engaged. Their concern often comes from a good place, but it misses the point. Solitude isn't something to be fixed. It's not a problem. It's a preference, and it's one that deserves respect. Still, it's important to acknowledge that solitude isn't always easy. There are days when it might feel lonely, when the quiet becomes too loud. But even then, it can be a teacher. In those moments, we learn to sit with ourselves, to confront our fears and doubts, and to find strength in our own presence. Over time, we realize that we're never truly alone, not as long as we have ourselves. As you read this, you might recognize parts of your own journey in these words. Maybe you felt the same pull towards solitude, the same desire to step back from the noise and chaos of the world. Or perhaps you've struggled with it, unsure of what it means or why it matters. Wherever you are on this path, know that you're not alone in feeling this way. The desire for solitude is a natural part of aging, a gift that comes with time and experience. It's a way of honoring the life you've lived and the person you've become. The beauty of solitude lies not only in the quiet, but in what it reveals about us. As we grow older, solitude becomes less about retreating from the world and more about creating space for introspection, for deeper understanding. It allows us to ask the questions that matter most. Who am I now? What do I truly value? What kind of life do I want to live in the years ahead? These questions, often drowned out by the noise of a busy life, rise to the surface when we embrace the stillness. And while they might feel daunting at first, they offer a rare opportunity for growth, even in our later years. One of the most profound aspects of aging is the wisdom that accompanies it. We carry within us a lifetime of experiences, joys, losses, triumphs, and challenges that shape who we are. Solitude provides a canvas on which to reflect upon this tapestry of life. It's a chance to make peace with our past, to let go of regrets and celebrate the moments that brought us happiness. In the quiet, we can see our lives more clearly, free from the distractions and judgments of others. This clarity is a gift, one that becomes more precious with time. For many older people, solitude also brings a sense of control. After years of navigating the demands and expectations of others, it feels liberating to finally prioritize ourselves. We can choose how to spend our days, whom to spend them with, and how much of ourselves we wish to share. This autonomy, often hard-earned, is a source of great strength. It reminds us that even as our bodies age, our minds and spirits remain resilient, capable of guiding us toward what we truly need. This is not to say that solitude means shutting the world out entirely. It's not about rejecting connection, but rather being intentional about it. As we age, the relationships we nurture become more meaningful. We may find that our social circles shrink, not because we're isolating ourselves, but because we're choosing quality over quantity. We gravitate toward people who uplift us, who understand us, and who respect our need for balance. These relationships, built on mutual respect and understanding, thrive in part because of the time we spend alone. Solitude strengthens us, making our interactions richer and more fulfilling. There's also a spiritual dimension to solitude, one that often deepens with age. Whether or not you consider yourself a religious person, you may find that being alone allows you to connect with something greater than yourself. For some, this is a sense of the divine. For others, it's a profound connection to nature or the universe. Walking in a quiet forest, watching a sunset, or sitting by the sea, these moments remind us of our place in the world, of the vastness of existence and the beauty of simply being alive. They're humbling and uplifting all at once, offering a kind of solace that's hard to find in the busyness of daily life. Solitude also fosters creativity and imagination, qualities that don't diminish with age but rather evolve. Many older people rediscover their creative passions in the quiet moments they carve out for themselves. Whether it's painting, writing, gardening, or even daydreaming, these activities become a source of joy and self-expression. They're not about achieving perfection or recognition. They're about the simple act of creating, of bringing something beautiful into the world. In this way, solitude becomes a wellspring of inspiration, a space where new ideas and possibilities take root. Of course, society doesn't always recognize the value of this. We live in a world that often equates busyness with worth, where being alone is sometimes seen as a sign of failure or inadequacy. But as older adults, we know better. We understand that life is not a race, and that our worth isn't measured by how much we do or how many people surround us. True fulfillment comes from within, from living in alignment with our values and priorities. Solitude allows us to do just that, to step away from societal pressures and embrace what truly matters to us. And yet, even as we seek solitude, it's important to remain connected to the world in ways that feel meaningful. For some, this might mean engaging in volunteer work or joining a community group. For others, it's about maintaining close relationships with family and friends or finding joy in small, everyday interactions. Solitude and connection are not opposites. They're complementary. Each enriches the other, creating a balance that sustains us. It's also worth acknowledging that the desire for solitude can sometimes be misunderstood by those around us. Friends and family members might worry, assuming that our preference for quiet time means we're unhappy or lonely. These concerns, while well-meaning, can feel intrusive, even frustrating. It's important to communicate openly with loved ones, helping them understand that our need for solitude isn't a rejection of them, but a way of caring for ourselves. In doing so, we can build stronger, more compassionate relationships, ones that honor both our needs and theirs. As we navigate this stage of life, it's also crucial to listen to ourselves, to trust our instincts about what feels right. Solitude isn't a one-size-fits-all experience. For some, it might mean hours spent reading or meditating. For others, it's a quiet morning walk or a few moments of stillness before bed. What matters is that we honor our own rhythms, finding the balance that works for us. This is a time to be gentle with ourselves, to approach life with curiosity and compassion, and to embrace the freedom that comes with age. In the end, solitude is not about retreating from the world, but about engaging with it in a deeper, more intentional way. It's a chance to rediscover ourselves, to reconnect with our passions, and to find meaning in the simple, quiet moments of life. And as we embrace this journey, we come to understand that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means being whole, being present, and being true to who we are. As we continue to embrace solitude, we come to realize that it's not merely a passive state, but an active choice, a declaration of our right to live life on our own terms. This can be particularly liberating in our later years, when we have the perspective and wisdom to see what truly fulfills us. Solitude allows us to examine our lives with clarity, to ask not only what we need, but what we want. It is in this space of quiet that we find ourselves reconnecting with our most authentic selves, freed from the expectations that so often weigh upon us in earlier stages of life. In solitude, we also find the opportunity to heal. Time alone provides the stillness needed to process life's complexities. Whether it's grief over the loss of a loved one, the adjustments that come with aging, or simply the changes in how we see the world, solitude becomes a safe place to sit with these emotions. Unlike the distractions of a busy life, which can dull or bury our feelings, solitude invites us to acknowledge them fully. It may not always be easy, but it is profoundly rewarding. Through this process, we discover resilience and a sense of inner peace that prepares us for the challenges and joys yet to come. For many older adults, solitude also becomes a time for reflection on legacy and purpose. We begin to think about the impact we've had on the world, the values we've upheld, and the memories we've created with others. This reflection isn't about dwelling on regrets or unmet ambitions. Rather, it's about appreciating the fullness of our lives. In the quiet, we can take pride in what we've achieved and find comfort in the fact that our presence has mattered, even in ways we may not fully realize. We see how small, seemingly insignificant moments, a kind word, a thoughtful gesture, have rippled outward, touching the lives of others. Moreover, solitude provides an opportunity to cultivate gratitude. In the stillness, we're reminded of the beauty around us, the changing seasons, the laughter of grandchildren, the comfort of familiar routines. These simple pleasures often go unnoticed in the busyness of life, but in solitude, they shine brightly. Gratitude becomes not just a fleeting feeling, but a way of seeing the world, a lens through which we view each day as a gift. This shift in perspective brings a quiet joy, one that enriches our lives and the lives of those around us. Another profound gift of solitude is the freedom it offers to explore new interests. As we age, many of the roles that defined us, parent, worker, caregiver, evolve or fall away. While this transition can be unsettling, it also opens the door to possibilities we may never have considered before. In the quiet of solitude, we find the time and mental space to pursue hobbies, learn new skills, or even revisit dreams we once set aside. This is a time of reinvention, a chance to define ourselves not by what we do for others, but by what brings us joy. The natural world often plays a significant role in this process. Time spent alone in nature, walking in a park, tending a garden, or simply sitting under a tree, has a unique ability to restore our spirits. Nature offers a sense of timelessness, a reminder that life moves in cycles, and that every season has its purpose. In these moments, we feel a profound connection to the world around us, a sense of belonging that transcends words. It's a reminder that even in solitude, we are never truly alone. We are part of something greater, something infinite. Yet, as we embrace solitude, it's important to strike a balance. While time alone is deeply fulfilling, it's also essential to remain connected to the world in meaningful ways. Solitude and community are not opposing forces. They complement each other. The time we spend alone helps us better understand ourselves, which in turn allows us to engage more authentically with others. When we do choose to connect with family, friends, or even strangers, those interactions carry more depth and intention. They become less about obligation and more about genuine connection. It's also worth recognizing that not all forms of solitude are the same. There is a difference between solitude by choice and isolation by circumstance. While chosen solitude is empowering and rejuvenating, enforced isolation can feel lonely and draining. It's important to be honest with ourselves about which experience we're having. If loneliness begins to creep in, it's okay to seek support, to reach out to others, or to find ways to re-engage with the world. There's no shame in acknowledging that balance is needed. In fact, it's a sign of strength. Our relationship with solitude often reflects our relationship with ourselves. If we view time alone as an opportunity rather than a void, we can approach it with curiosity and openness. This mindset transforms solitude from something we endure to something we savor. It becomes a time of self-care where we listen to our needs and honor our desires. Whether it's through journaling, meditation, or simply sitting quietly with a cup of tea, these moments remind us that we are deserving of our own attention and care. Ultimately, the desire for solitude is not about turning away from the world, but about turning toward ourselves. It's a recognition that we've spent much of our lives giving to others, and now it's time to give to ourselves. This isn't selfish. It's necessary. It allows us to recharge, to reflect, and to grow. And in doing so, we become not only better for ourselves, but for the people we care about as well. As we close this reflection, consider the unique ways solitude has shaped your own life. Perhaps it has provided clarity in difficult times, comfort in moments of sadness, or inspiration when you needed it most. Or perhaps it simply offered a sense of peace, a reminder that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means being present, being whole, and being free to live in a way that feels true to you. Solitude, in its quiet power, is not an end but a beginning, a space where we can continue to grow, to heal, and to discover the beauty of simply being. As we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank you for spending this time reflecting on the beauty and importance of solitude with me. Life has a way of teaching us, through its ups and downs, that finding peace within ourselves is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. I hope this exploration has sparked some thoughts or even brought a sense of comfort if you've been wondering why solitude feels so essential, especially as we grow older. Now, before we part ways, let's take a moment to remember that every journey, whether it's a quiet walk alone, a favorite hobby, or even a reflective read like this one, contributes to the richness of our lives. Solitude is not about isolation. It's about honoring the life we've lived and the person we've become. And it's about doing so unapologetically, with grace and gratitude. I have to admit, talking about this subject has been a joy. You know how sometimes you start thinking about a topic, and before you know it, you're down this lovely rabbit hole of thoughts? That's how I feel about solitude. It's endlessly fascinating and deeply personal. The way each of us experiences it, values it, or even struggles with it is so unique. It's one of those universal truths that everyone feels in their own way. And speaking of unique, isn't it wonderful how different the little things can feel when we take the time to truly appreciate them? A quiet moment with a warm cup of coffee in the morning sun, a peaceful stroll through a park, or even the satisfaction of finishing a book you've been meaning to read. Those simple joys are worth savoring. They remind us that even the smallest moments can bring the biggest smiles. So, I hope this reflection has encouraged you to embrace solitude, not as something to fear or fight against, but as a natural and enriching part of life. And while we're here chatting, let me just say how much I appreciate you being part of this community. You're the reason these reflections and conversations matter, and it's always a pleasure to connect with thoughtful, kind-hearted people like you. If you enjoyed this discussion, I'd love for you to stick around. You know the drill. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the latest uploads. It's a small way to stay connected, and it really helps keep this little corner of the internet buzzing with positivity and meaningful conversation. Plus, it's always nice to know we're in this together, sharing ideas and growing as a community. All right, I won't keep you any longer, but as you go about your day, remember to treat yourself kindly, embrace those quiet moments, and find joy in the simple, beautiful act of being present. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope you have a truly wonderful day. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.